Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Falling Water. So in this episode, obviously from last episode, we ended up finding out that Tess was going to go visit her mom about the whole bear thing. But Tess, being the way she is like, I'm not going to actually directly talk to mom, because it's like, if I directly talk to her, there's a good chance she'll simply deny it or ignore me or straight up lie about it. So why bother doing that when I can use what I learned recently and just hijack her dream, which she does. Interesting, we kind of get her. It's always interesting to see kind of where everyone kind of starts off in their dream. Like Bill started off on the bus with his twin sister. In this one, her mom was back when she was a little, like when her mom was a little girl in school. And it's interesting, every time like they would change the perspective, it'd be kind of like, oh, you'd see her as a little girl, but then you also she turned and you kind of see her as an adult. Then you see her kind of, they were going to, like, really, I guess it looked like it might have been them going to a play or something, but they never made it inside, and they're just in the main lobby just dancing and whatnot. But then you get the twist later on when her mom kind of does the reverse of it and hijacks her dream. She's like, whoa, what's going on here? Wait, this is my dream. She's like, yeah, but you started this first because you hijacked my dream. And then her mom was kind of like, she ended up waking up because her mom was kind of doing experiments on her and everything. She's like, oh, don't worry about this, honey. I'm doing this because I love you. You're sick. You know, I just want to take care of you. All this is for your sake. And then when she woke up, her mom was like, oh yeah, do you remember what you were dreaming about? And Tess lied and was like, no, I don't. So it makes you wonder, because it happens again, and Tess actually does get answers. Because now Tess knows, like, her son is missing. Like, because that came up before, because that was the whole reason why Anne Marie Bowen went to Andy in the first place. I think I brought that up before. I didn't really piece it together until, like, the commercial pointed it out a little bit more to me and at the time of that episode airing. And I was like, oh, yeah, like, the reason why Andy came after her was because they needed her to try and help them track down. I guess they couldn't really go after her directly like they could Taka, but I don't know. I'll get to that in a little bit, my thoughts and everything about it. But it's like her mom seemed like, obviously her mom has a connection to the group of green shoes and whatnot, the fake Anne Marie Bowen leads and everything. And it's like her mom admits, it's like, we don't have her, we don't have your son anymore. We lost him. We don't know who took him. I mean, granted, we kind of know who took him. I mean, because Burton kind of found that out last episode about that whole situation, that the whole deal with the Belgian was about the kid. So what I am curious about, like, because we still didn't even know who it is that stole the kid, or who actually, I mean, we know that the Belgium and them are kind of selling a kid, but it's like, who necessarily, was it them who purchased the kid, or was it someone else? Because my mind is currently going to Bill. Bill, out of anyone, has the most money. Maybe that could also be why he's taken such a special interest in Tess. It's because he knows not just about her abilities, but her son too, which I'll get to. Well, I'll go ahead and get into it, because Burton ends up finding out just how important her son is. Like, essentially, he ends up learning from one of the guys is that basically this entire thing is about the people in the green shoes, the fake Marie and Bowen's people, are trying to take the dream world and bring it into reality because of Tess's son, or possibly her son, because the mom kept saying like, he's not yours, but it's kind of like maybe she was lying. Still one last ditch effort to say, because at first I was thinking like, oh, is she trying to say it's actually hers, that actually the little boy is actually Tess's brother? I mean, I don't know, we'll have to. I really do believe it is Tess's son, but she was just kind of lying about it. But the moment, like, I kind of flipping back to it, is I do legitimately think Bill is the one who has it, because he is the most money. He's the one that has such a interest in this whole dream aspect of like connecting everybody in their dreams and everything. And it's such a huge goal for him, especially because it seems like all of these goals of his are also connected to his sister. So maybe in the grand scheme of things, he wants to unlock dreams kind of to their fullest potential for not so selfish reason with his sister wanting to find a way to save her, almost kind of a similar situation to Taka, or, well, not really, because his sister is dead, but maybe he feels like in some shape or form, maybe she exists in a dream world or something, or maybe he's trying to, like, because he feels like he can't go back to that beautiful place he was with his sister. Maybe he feels like if he brings the dream world to reality, he'll be able to shape reality and make it so that he can, in a way, bring his sister back. I mean, but also because it seems like maybe he has an interest in gaining power. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I'm throwing Bill under the bus, but it's just like, I've not trusted him since like the first episode. So I've been very clear about that. But you know how my radar is kind of about trusting people. It's like some people I'm kind of like, oh, you shouldn't trust them, and I'm wrong. And other times I'm right. It's just kind of like hit and miss type of situation. But the fact is, her mom is on the phone with her, and she's like, I just want you to know that I love you, and I will always love you no matter what. Never bringing up the conversation. So it's part of me wondering, is like, was that her mom's dream self kind of perceiving that? Because it's like, the question is like, is that something people can just jump to, like learning to control and remember their dreams to that certain extent, to jump from other people's dreams? Is that something you can instinctually do? But the fact of the matter is that she's connected to the group with the green shoes with the fake Anne Marie Bowen. Then maybe, just maybe, like she already knows how to do it. So maybe she was doing that, like. Because the way she was asking those questions made me seem like she knows exactly what she's doing, but at the same time, it could be interpreted as she doesn't know what she's doing. That basically it's like a defense mechanism that even if you're not that well versed in the dream world, your brain will subconsciously kind of go in defensive mode, kind of treat any invaders like bacteria entering your body. And like your dream is like a giant immune system fighting back any invaders, and that being, someone else enter your dream being bacteria, so it could be either way. But that is kind of in this episode, like because Burton ended up talking to that lady, the one who was kind of talking about the fact that she felt like she was in love with Woody, even though she really couldn't explain it. And Burton came to her and was like, the reason why you're dreaming about Woody so much is he's hijacking your dream to make you think he loves you, that you love him. And basically, they kind of get into the dream because it's like he's trying to get to the girl from his dreams, a woman that he loves, and he's trying to find out where she is. And the best way to do that is kind of trap Woody. He kind of traps Woody, but then Woody kind of kicks his ass because Woody has a little bit more experience. Because even though this has been happening to Burton, he doesn't have full control over it. But I do love the metaphor they used to kind of, Woody kind of breaks it down. He's like, okay, so for most people, there's the dream world and then there's the awake world. There's this kind of big gap. So you can obviously, their two worlds are separated, and it's kind of easy to kind of distinguish it between the two. He's like, well, me, probably him and other people like him have the potential to kind of skate around the rim. That basically there is no gap, that they can easily prance around. They're like ants on the top of a glass, and they swirl across the top of the glass and are able to quickly switch over to the other one. But someone like Burton has the ability to bring one world and have it spill over into the other one. The example he used is the moment Burton and her, the girl from his dreams, that whole situation in the lobby where it's like he looked through the security cameras and it was like it didn't happen. But that's because he, in an incident like that, he brought the dream world into reality. When it comes to that whole situation about the girl, it's like, was she forced to do that, or was that some way for her to kind of, because I feel like it was all for the sole purpose of manipulating Burton. It's like, because Woody obviously popped up in his dreams a lot, him as well as more so than anyone, always being somewhere in the background. I guess that was Woody's way of kind of keeping an eye on him. But then you take her, for example, so it's like, was she brought there to keep Burton busy, kind of keep him off balance, to help manipulate him, just kind of in the same sense of Woody manipulating that woman into thinking she loved them? Or, does Burton and this woman actually even really know each other? Because the fact of the matter is, I keep referring to her as a woman because they have yet to actually give her a name. Like, I've never actually heard her name. Maybe I have and I just missed it. But even he's never really called her by her name. He's just like her, referring to her as that, So maybe even Burton isn't really sure that he knows her, but they know each other from their dreams. Maybe they don't actually know each other in real life. So, that'd be kind of the interesting thing when, if and when they finally meet, it brings up that question of like, oh, I don't actually know you. Like, but maybe this whole entire time, what she was doing was actually reaching out for help the entire time, and it's just she was always trying to do it in a way where the other people wouldn't notice. Because we also finally got a final definition on what Topeka is. Topeka is like a place you can pull up you can dig roots into or whatever, and that's basically this whole thing, this whole conglomerate of dreaming and everything in people's thoughts. It needed a name, so they called it Topeka. Topeka isn't necessarily. It is technically people, but it's like this whole dreamscape that was created by all these different people put together. That in itself is Topeka. But I really like, I always get excited when you get to see the characters kind of cross over. Like before it was Taka and Tess, and now you get Tess and Burton were in the same restaurant. And it's just like, I get that excited feeling. I brought it up before. It's like, oh, everyone's got their own individual pieces, but I'm waiting for everyone to come together and piece it all together themselves, but it hasn't happened yet. But there was a whole moment about like, oh, like staying awake. Tess had basically stayed awake for 6 days straight, and that basically there was a moment where she thought she was on the beach, like a rocky beach or whatever, but she ended up kind of waking up to find out she kind of apparently lost her mind, and she was actually out in the woods or whatever. And then basically she talks about the fact is that she, like, if you ever end up on that rocky beach or sand or whatever, go look for a specific, look behind, or whether it was that or the forest or whatever, just like look behind a certain tree or whatever, you'll find like a bottle of something that she, like, some alcohol or something that she had left. But that was a very interesting scene because we then see Burton kind of pushing himself, taking what Woody kind of told him about dreams. So he kind of enters a dream world and he kind of pushes it. He goes into the mirror in the dream world. And I love how it looks. It just looks, I just love the special effect for it. And just like him sticking his hand in and it's sticking his whole body and it ends up in a mirror world. And originally he'd gotten the address as to where the lady is at from a guy, but the guy didn't really give him a, like, the guy was like, oh, you think you're going to handle this on your own? He's like, fine, you're not going to work with this, fine, then screw it. And he burns the address. But Burton goes there in the dream. He picks up, he sifts through the ashes and he pulls up the envelope, in a non-burned form, opens it and everything, and gets the address and wakes up and kind of writes it out. So that was pretty interesting. So he is closing in on something. I did see previews to the next episode, but I'll kind of get into that a little bit later on. And then finally, talking about Taka's situation. See, this is what I'm looking at. Like, in the grand scheme of everything, I feel like all three, Tess, Burton, and Taka, are all being manipulated by somebody. Burton by the people that he's working with, like people like Woody, for example, because even the guy who's working with is like, oh yeah, the people with the green shoes, they're the ones that want the kid to kind of bleed dream world into the reality. But then it also seems like the green shoes people are manipulating, with fake Anne-Marie Bowen's people is manipulating Taka, and it seems like Bill might be manipulating Tess. Which granted, she's also being manipulated by fake Anne-Marie Bowen because her mom's connected them and everything. So it's just like, it seems like all three of them are being manipulated. Because the thing is, what I'm wondering is, do they all share the same ability, or are they kind of like or do they all have their own distinct abilities? Like, Tess being able to do what she does, like in the real world, she's like having it's just something that kind of sparks and gives her job, makes her job very good, where she comes up for the new hot trend that she's kind of able to get inside of people's heads like that. Because it seems like, that's why Bill took an interest in her, maybe not just because of her son, but also because of what she can do. And then there's a whole situation about Burton bleeding one reality into another. Now, is that something all three of them can do? Because it's like technically maybe, because it seems like more so than anything, because out of any of the characters, it seems like Burton's the one that struggles with that the most, being able to tell what's a dream and what's reality. Maybe it seems like it might be something all three of them are able to do, but it seems like maybe they emphasize it a little more on Burton, so maybe that's something specifically he can do. Because you take fake Anne-Marie Bowen wants Taka to be like, oh, talk to his mom. And he's like, why would you help me help my mom? And it's like, because we want you to too. So is it because they want his mom because his mom is kind of special in the same regard as Tess's mom? Tess's sister? God, Tess's son. I don't know. I'm saying everything wrong just there. Is it kind of like his mom is special, or was the fact is that she was part of their group and she has some hidden knowledge that they can't get access to? Because bringing it up, he was the one that brought his mom to the forest. That wasn't fake Anne-Marie Bowen. That was him who drawed her into the forest that she was just walking through. So. And another thing that happened with them is the fact is, he's like, you guys don't really know about me or my mom. And then they start, as one by one, they end up bringing up stuff about him and his mom, stuff that only he would know. And one person stops and another person picks up. And then at points, they actually talk in unison. So it makes me wonder, is it more so kind of like, hey, we're in a mindset. Like, it's the grand scheme of uniting under one mind, because the whole thing about Bill was that it's like, oh, to bring every dream together. So maybe that's something that they share. But the fact is that they're able to do that might mean maybe Anne-Marie Bowen's group is connected to Bill. Maybe they're kind of like a side thing that Bill just kind of keeps. But then it was like, well, why run away from the people with no face? Maybe it's because he was like, hey, I'm your boss, so back the hell away. Or maybe that was him sending them some kind of message or something. It's just so many different ways to kind of interpret it. But even when it was all said and done, Taka never was able to kind of get a response from his mom. Maybe, I don't know, because at the end it seemed like there might be something more to that. He's talking to the doc Anna's doctor, the one that he kind of has a thing with. He was basically in a dream. She was wearing like kind of a gown that was his mom's, and he was like, take it off, and she's like, you're so hung up on your mom, and you hang on everything that she does and says, but she's not even here for you. So it's kind of like, he's like, but she'll wake up one day. And if fake Anne Marie Bowen, I know I keep saying that, but that's the best way to describe her, because that's the only name we really know her by. Is like, well, what do you want? Like, when Taka gets her to wake up, like, what is it that he wants? Because he makes it seem like he hates her, because I guess for him, because it's not really clear as to how long his mom's been in the state that she's been in. So maybe he spent most of his life growing up with her in that state, not really knowing her, not really getting talked to her. So maybe he hates her because it's like, you've left me behind. You're off somewhere else, and you've left this shell behind. This being the only way I can talk to you. There's no other way. Even when I try to reach you in your dreams, it's like, I can't reach you. It's like, what am I supposed to do? So I don't know. Like I said, my point is, I feel like it's manipulation all around. Like, all three of them are being manipulated. I'm eagerly waiting a moment when they all come together. I'm very curious what's going to be the thing that brings them together. Just really interested to see how this all plays out. Will Burton be able to rescue the girl? This whole situation, because fake Marie Bowen was saying like Taka will come back to them. It's like, part of me is like, I don't know, because Burton was able to kind of do this on his own, even though the guy was like, oh, you think you can handle this on that? I mean, he might be a little bit over his head, but it's like, he won't. The thing is, they won't be able to do this alone. They have to come together, and I'm just super excited to find out when that is. I'm waiting for that moment, and it's just like, every time I see like even just two of them together, I'm like, I get a little excited, because I'm like, oh, is this the moment? But it's like, no, it's not the moment. It's like they're teasing it. It's like there's something there, but they can't quite click it together to be like, oh yeah, you have the other sides of this puzzle, this whole situation. So do note, if you didn't know, because you didn't catch the preview or whatever, there won't be a new episode next week. There will be one the week after that, which is December 1st. So keep that in mind. No new episode next week. So we'll just have to wait a little while longer to find out where the story goes. So. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.